All right, folks, we're 3 weeks away from the opener. If you love college football and have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would appreciate if you would, and I think you'll benefit from it. If you love college football, because we talk it 24/7, 365 with some of the best bloggers and broadcasters around, you will see a number of contributors from SB Nation and other top platforms, Peter Burns from the SEC Network, Jerry DiNardo from the Big Ten Network, and others. And sometimes you get stuck with analysis from myself. Audio versions you can catch on Stitcher, Podbean, and iTunes. Just search Mark Rogers TV, and all the content right here on YouTube as well. This is the most difficult schedule to rate right here. So if you've missed the rest of this series, we're ranking the schedule 68 all the way up to number 1. And in the initial video, I explain our process. This is the most difficult schedule to rank because you've got the Power Fives, which you can compare against division opponents and conference opponents, and they are like schedules, and you can start the breakdown from there. You can put the conferences in silos and start the breakdown from there, and then you need to compare conference to conference and team to team outside of conferences. BYU's got a very odd schedule, always the strangest in college football to me. UMass and Army are at the low end of the independents, but this one, difficult to rate because they are all over the map, and it's Notre Dame with the 9th most difficult schedule in 2017, trying to rebound from 4-8 last season. All right, so this is all over the place, but we get some of the more traditional, familiar foes for the Irish, i.e., Boston College on the road September 16th. Notre Dame back at it with a rival Michigan State on the road September 23rd. And Sparty definitely a wild card this season after an off 2016. USC always on the schedule. And again, October 21st. There have been recent games against Miami, and this time the Irish have to travel to Coral Gables on November 11th. The typical game against Navy, that comes up November 18th and November 25th. The annual rivalry game that has come to be against Stanford. So let's take it from the top, and then we'll point out the most difficult stretches. September 2nd against Temple, minus Matt Rule. What do the Owls have? Well, they've got quite a bit of talent from the Rule recruiting. September 2nd at South Bend against Temple. All right, then one of the more difficult 3-game stretches here, Georgia, and then on the road against Boston College and Michigan State. So the Georgia game to me is fascinating. We'll see and be able to measure these two teams that are a bit of a mystery heading into 2017 when Georgia comes to South Bend on September 9th. BC, Michigan State, both on the road. Miami of Ohio at North Carolina. The heel should be down after losing Mitch Trubisky and company. Open date, which is key at this point in the season because Notre Dame not only faces USC, maybe the toughest team on the schedule, and at this point, looking at this schedule, yes, USC is the projected best team on the schedule. That game in South Bend, but key to the open date on October 14th is also heading into this stretch. USC, NC State, Wake Forest, and at Miami. Yes, NC State and Wake Forest, pretty lowly regarded compared to some of these other teams, but not going to be easy for the Irish. They have lost these games in the past, lost a game in the rain against NC State in the past 2 years and against Wake Forest. USC, NC State, Wake Forest at Miami before the Irish conclude with a game against Navy and then a trip out to the West Coast to take on Stanford. The last time they went out there, they were fighting for a college football playoff berth 2 years ago and lost in the waning seconds. It's a difficult schedule to rate because you've got nothing specific to rate it against. It's not like rating Alabama's schedule against the rest of the SEC Western Division and having those 6 same games to start as a base and then trying to find the differences in the schedule versus the SEC East and then out of conference. This is a wild card schedule, but USC, the 5 ACC opponents are pretty formidable. Decent mid to lower tier teams in BC, NC State, Wake Forest, the toughie against Miami on the road. Georgia comes in from the SEC, Michigan State, That one, a difficult to call. We mentioned the ACC play. Well, there's a game against North Carolina as well. And, of course, against Stanford, again, one of the best teams in the Pac-12 and probably a top 12 to 15 team in the nation. The ninth most difficult schedule in college football. I'm sure I'll get all sorts of opinion on the Notre Dame because it's difficult to compare, but this is where I slot it. Again, check out the introductory video where I give you the madness behind the method and explain the process right here on Mark Rogers TV.